Dot, 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 dot. Good morning, everybody. It is Grant from State of the Spark, and I am so pumped for today's show because there are three things I absolutely need from you. I need you to believe these three things. Society needs you to believe these three things, and I'm going to break them down. We're going to share those this morning really quick. But before we do that, we've got a little bit of other news from Cairo Creatives to is Earth reflective enough? Are we reflecting enough? And really, are we reflecting enough light? We're going to be talking about that. But before anything, you know that we are sharing cup of gratitude. What are you grateful for this morning? I am super pumped this morning. I'm so grateful for the conversation that's going on. I'm just going to dive in. I'm not going to shame you on the things I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you're grateful for, but sometimes you share, sometimes you don't. It's Monday. You might just be grateful to be alive, or you might be grateful for a very restful weekend. I want to hear about it. But I'll tell you what I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for the positive conversation in our very small, intimate Discord group that's going on right now. I'm grateful for that, obviously. I am so grateful for a restful weekend I had with my lovely wife, Marissa. We had such a good time just resting and enjoying each other's company. And actually, I don't think we actually did anything significant, but we did get to the gym together. So I'm grateful for that. And I am grateful for a fresh start on Monday. Root just beat me to it. Root jumps in and said he's grateful for Monday. I love Mondays. You know, sometimes I go absolutely stir crazy on Sundays. Like I don't do Sundays well because I've been sitting on my hands now for about 24 hours because I try to unwind Saturday at about noon. I try to proactively unwind. But I've had so much going on, so many partnerships, so many conversations, so many projects that I've just been pushing through. And so I typically don't do Sundays well. But this Sunday, we did enjoy. We got to see Trey and Natanea and their beautiful newborn. And that was super fun. And then I had some chicken and waffles. What are you grateful for? Good morning, Jessica. I see her like this morning. What else are you grateful for? Let us know in the comments below. Let's talk about a brief period of other news and why the earth isn't freaking reflective at all. So I could be directing this piece of other news to why we as earthlings do not reflect on our lives at all. Oh, here goes Jessica. I gotta share. Oh, and there's Lisa too. Good morning. I'm grateful for a restful birthday weekend. Happy birthday. I didn't realize it was your birthday. We celebrated my husband. Oh, their birthdays, your husband's birthdays and your son's birthdays this weekend. And they were so low key and intimate that I'm not drained at all. Yes, birthdays can get crazy draining, 100%. And sometimes me and Marissa go a little too all out because we don't celebrate many things, but we celebrate each other's birthdays and they can go crazy. And sometimes a low-key birthday is what I'm talking about. Lisa Welch jumps in and she says she's grateful for Monday delivery she gets to make. And this is good. Some people could go, oh, I've been working at my business now for so long. Why are we still doing deliveries? Why am I participating? Why do I have my team participating? Why am I up? But we're grateful for it. That's what feeds ourselves. That's what feeds our family. And in a very real case, in Lisa's very real case, it's what feeds her clients and hopefully feeds them with something a little healthier. So I am absolutely grateful that you all are sharing with me this morning. Thank you so much. That means a lot. Let's talk about Earth not being reflective enough. Now, I could be, like I was saying, be absolutely like philosophical that humans don't reflect enough on their lives, which is true. But what we're actually talking about is light reflection. You see, as climate change happens, the Earth is reflecting less and less light. There's a thing called Earth shine that I discovered this morning. And Earth shine is the measurement of the Earth's light reflected off the surface of the moon. We actually reflect light onto the surface of the moon. And there's a whole area of study called Earth shine. Now, oceans can do this. Low and high altitude clouds can do this. Atmosphere can do this. So there's a lot of factors that contribute to reflecting light to the moon. And as the atmosphere dwindles, as our clouds formations, and cloud formation is actually still quite a mysterious thing. We know how clouds generally are made, but we don't know exactly the science of cloud making. We can't predict when a cloud is going to be made necessarily. We can predict cloudy days, but what about a particular cloud? Well, we can measure cloud volume and cloud reflection. And what they have found is this Earth shine measurement has gone down, and there's been a correlation with Earth temperature going up. You see, as we reflect less light, that means our atmosphere captures more light. And as our atmosphere captures more light, our temperatures heat up. So the Earth is not as reflective. And I mean both philosophically and scientifically. Please don't contribute to a dimmer Earth. Help us continue to make the Earth a little bit better. But if you want to read more about that, I've dropped the link in the comments. Boom, boom. There you go. And I'll just pause here and ask this, folks, before we cover our other piece of Cairo creative other news. And that is, if you enjoy the show at all, if you pop in even once in a blue moon, like or share, we thrive on likes or shares. Tag someone who you think might need to gain something of the lesson. This is currency to us. This makes a huge difference because I know that I'm achieving my goal of impacting the world when you like or share or tag someone. So thank you so much. Let's talk about Cairo creatives. Mm, 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 mm. I don't know why I just clapped. It just makes a good noise. So there is a thing called D-CAF, and it is known as, I'm reading it, the Downtown Contemporary Arts Festival in Cairo. And they're saying it's kicking off post-pandemic or in the middle of pandemic with a packed schedule. Pause real quick. Lisa jumps in and says, true. I had a Harvard student come to the farm yesterday, and he said his professor says they know more about outer space than they know about the soil that creates our food. I thought that was an interesting statement. We know a lot about space right now. We know a lot about other sciences, but some of our natural sciences are falling to the wayside. And I wonder if that's just a belief that we're kind of like, There's a lot of Christian belief that says we're meant to dominate the earth, and dominate used to mean tend. We're supposed to take care of, but it's often lately we're supposed to dominate other species, dominate the land, and it has come with it a little side effect that, well, this is a fallen world, so why would we take care of it? And I think that that's an unintended translation of a lot of our spiritual texts. We're supposed to be taking care of this thing, so I encourage that. So in Cairo, back in 2011, they were going to kick off this thing called D-CAF, the Downtown Contemporary Arts Festival. Now, the reason I called this out as a piece of other news is this. Oftentimes when we think about contemporary art, a lot of Westerners do not picture the Middle East, and it's a shame. In fact, we don't often picture the East. Though we sometimes think of like Japan and maybe Singapore as having edgy art scenes, we very rarely think about the Middle East. And it's a shame because there's a lot of killer ancient art, but also contemporary art that comes out of the Middle East. So I wanted to profile briefly the Downtown Contemporary Arts Festival in Cairo. Fun fact, it was supposed to kick off in 2011, but got swept up in the revolution, the Arab Spring, as it was called at the time. I don't even know if that's politically correct, but at the time there was this massive revolution in the Middle East, including Cairo. And as such, the art scene got kind of pushed to the wayside, but it resurged years later. And this should be the ninth Cairo D-CAF, as it's said. A few quick featurettes that are going into this. One is you can actually do what they call the Cairo Sound Tour. And you get into a bus and you put on a headset, and a sound artist actually will narrate the sounds of Cairo. You'll drive through different sectors of the town in this bus, and you'll hear different aspects, and the narration will tell the story of what you're hearing, which is super intriguing to me. And secondly, an exiled Syrian poet. It would be very interesting to hear what an exiled Syrian poet, exiled from Syria, now living in Cairo, what sort of poetry, what sort of things do they describe? What sort of histories will they tell? So it's a very intriguing thing. And I think in a city as old as Egypt, me and Marissa were looking up the countries that had been established the longest. And in nearly all the lists we saw, Egypt had been the longest existing country. Now, it's had different borders, it's had different government structures, but it has been the longest continuously living society that we've had, even beyond the Greeks. When you think about the Greeks, the Egyptian culture has been around a lot longer than that as a country. Very intriguing stuff. And that, my friends, is other news. So, what are the three freaking things I need you to believe. Let's talk about it. Do we have a comment here? Oh, that was my comment. Let's talk about it. I woke up this morning and I was up through the night, and I was super convicted about things I wish were in vogue again. Things that I wish we would talk about. Quite often you turn on the news or we go to Chili's, and what is it? Sports, football, baseball. Okay. If you go to a coffee shop, what are people talking about? They're talking about the latest politics or the latest philosophies. And I miss the conversation around three things. And I call them out because they're like extinct species. I don't know if you saw, but they just announced that they're going to be moving, I think it's something like 23 known species to the extinct list. They had been endangered, but there has been no recorded latest of these species. So they're going to actually add them to the extinct list. And that's tragic. And this extinction is going to be a little tragic because we're going through a mass extinction event. And this current mass extinction event is, you could say it's humans. I don't know if I fall into that camp. It is climate change, and humans have contributed to that. It is also environment change, and humans have definitely contributed to that. But there are three character traits, three things that I need you to believe in. And this morning on a Monday, why on a Monday? On a Monday, this should all be hype, and it is hype. And I want these thoughts to pump you up for a strong week, because I think they're innate in all of us, and I think we need more of it. Number one, I need you to believe again in kindness. What? I believe in kindness. No, we have a very passé acknowledgement that kindness is a good thing. But it's so crazy out there. The news is crazy. Job places are crazy. The Great Resignation, people working 2 days a week say it's too stressful and leave their jobs, which real stories that we're hearing about. People are being pulled into this and pulled into that. They're being pulled into different camps all the time. Every conversation that someone is pulled into, it's almost like they're not trying to connect. Every conversation with a new person, they're trying to assess what camp you're in. And extremes aren't the only extreme. There's a lot of people who are neutral, and they're pulling into their extreme, which is withdrawal. The extreme neutral position is complete withdrawal. I got into a great conversation with a friend this weekend, Brock, and we agree on a lot of points. We disagree on some points, but one thing he said that really stuck with me was how, as a certain thing happens in our society, intelligent people, smart people, good people are going to withdraw, and that's just as bad things happening. I think what's that quote? The only thing for evil to succeed is for good people to do nothing. There seems to be very few ways for us to interact with people living in extremes. If someone's living in an extreme fitness, it's almost like too much, and you can't interact with like Mr. CrossFit, Mrs. CrossFit. But if someone is just like all about eating out, it's kind of nasty to be around them. You don't want to hang out with them and go out to dinner with them because they're gorging, and you, by contrast, aren't. And it's just this weirdness. It's hard to interact with people living in extremes. If someone is just about business and it's only about business, this is the conflict that people had in the early days with Gary Vee, then it's like just too extreme. But if someone's just like just giving up on life and has no goals, that's difficult. Both are very difficult to interact with. And I feel like intelligent people, kind people, kind of are at this position where they're just going to begin to interact with fewer people. They're going to withdraw. And I think this is a big threat. I need you to believe in kindness as a power, as a superpower. In a world of extremes, the person that can interact boldly with people, but with a posture of kindness, is a superpower. What do I mean by this? Well, interacting with people in kindness is listening to them long after you've identified your conflicting opinion, long after you've wanted to interject. Kindness is just listening and trying to understand it more. And them them not knowing where you stand. I have a client who right now is getting pulled into an extreme, and I just try to be present for them. I disagree with their position. I disagree with what they're trying to do. I can still serve them. I still have a skill. And it doesn't particularly conflict. I'm not in a moral, ethical dilemma. I just disagree. I'm neutral. So I listen to them. You can empathize with them long enough for them to vent or get it off their chest. Often, when you are a kind person, instead of withdrawing, going, oh, I can't handle these people of extremes, what if you engaged with kindness? And what if they got it off their chest just by you being there? And you might have a Teflon heart, meaning they're not brain vomiting on you. They might be trying, but you might have a Teflon heart where you're going, oh, that doesn't bother me. I'm here for you. So tell me more about that. Tell me more about that. Ask 3 questions, and you'll usually get to the point where they'll start sputtering because they've gotten it all off their chest and realize, I haven't asked you your opinion. I haven't asked where you stand. You haven't interjected. And they start to feel a little silly because they'll start hearing how they've sounded for the last hour or an hour and a half, and you've just been kind. Interesting. Cool. Well, tell me more about that. Well, what about this aspect? Without interjecting your opinion. And in those situations, which don't actually happen often, when someone overtly antagonizes you, pushing even further by inquiring, and I heard this great quote, when cornered, how do you answer if you do genuinely disagree with someone? If an extreme person of extremes challenges you on something or antagonizes you, how do you answer in an honest, ethical way? And I just heard you could say it as simply as, I'd love to share my position with you, but I don't know if our relationship is in a position that we can share. I'd love to share my opinion with you, but I'd like to make sure that our relationship is in a position that we can share. And they'll understand that right away. Well, what do you mean? They might even be offended. What do you mean? Well, and the follow-up is, I want to make sure that our relationship is more important than our opinions. When did opinions become more important than relationship? When people's survival, when they think that their survival is dependent on their affiliations. And it might seem like it is, but I really don't think it is. Everyone's in the same plight. So a great response, especially when antagonized on kindness, is, well, I'd love to share my opinions, but I want to make sure that our relationship is good before we do that. Why? Because obviously these opinions are very hot right now. I need you to not pull back from society as an intelligent person, as a good person, as an ambitious person, as a kind person. I need you to believe in kindness as a power. Again, Lisa Welsh jumps in and says, boom, relationships are more important than opinions. I 100%, I think it's obvious that I 100% agree that relationships are more important than opinions. I need you to adopt kindness, and kindness is not withdrawal. It is not kind to withdraw from society. It's not kind to withdraw your personality. It's not kind to withdraw your presence. And we'll get to presence in a minute. So the second thing I need you to believe in, 100% believe in, is strength. If the first thing I need you to believe in is kindness, to effect this, to carry the affect of kindness, to make the effect of kindness, I need you to believe in strength again. We need to believe in strength again. Strength as a character trait is in a weird place right now, if you think about it. Strength right now in women are strong, and you are seeing, obviously, we're seeing a huge equality movement and beyond. We're seeing a huge movement where women are stretching out and expanding themselves and experimenting with what is strength. And they're starting to say it more boldly and be more bold. But they're currently often accused of being snitchy. You know what I'm talking about when showing strength. How often are we hearing the story that I stepped up, I tried to be strong, but they were saying I was being bitchy and I lost this position. They demeaned me or they dismissed me. That's not fair to women's quest for strength. So in that, prototypical scenario, strength is being frowned upon as women are trying to experience more and more of their own strength. Now, a parallel to this in men is that there are strong and good men trying to find their own way in the world when it comes to strength. And good men are really trying to be sensitive about their strength. Good men are trying to find a way when struggle to exert and show their strength as they want to, because they definitely don't want to stifle the feminine heart or the feminine spirit. They don't want to come across as sexist or overreaching. Men are reevaluating their own strength and wondering what is the place for my strength. And if men get strength wrong at the wrong moment, it can be distasteful, understandably. It can be misunderstood. So strength as a character trait is starting to get a bad rap because of the plight of women, because of the plight of men. And in general, I feel like it's starting to be viewed as kind of like a relic of the patriarchy. But we need strength right now. I believe what we saw in D.C. on January 6th, regardless of your political opinion, I believe that what you saw are weaklings lashing out. We need strength to stand up, not for our opinions, not for our rights. Blah. We need strength to stand up for those who are down and out, for those who can't stand up for themselves. We need strength to speak up to the loved ones in our lives, not to the unknown stranger who has a different opinion than you. We need to speak up to the loved ones in our lives who might be making lifestyle choices that are destructive. More of you have commented in the public domain than you have to your family about lifestyle choices. And no, I'm not talking about politics, though it could include that. I'm talking about all the ways people are caving in. We need strength to live a life of self-discipline. People are caving in. The rest of the world is giving into their lizard brain. The rest of the world is giving into numbing themselves. So what are they doing? Any numbing agent will do. Netflix and binge, alcohol, withdrawal, the opposite of withdrawal, engagement and fighting. These are all different forms of dopamine hits or neurotransmitter hits that's numbing them to the world around them, because the world is a little much right now. We need the strength as good people to live a life of self-discipline to help them. Caving people who are caving to their limbic system, their lizard brain, people who are caving to, I'm just gonna eat something. I'm just going to distract myself. I'm just going to procrastinate. I've got these goals, but I'll just tomorrow. I'll take care of it tomorrow. Caving people are numbing themselves. Numb people are not making an impact in the world, a positive impact. I include those who are withdrawing, good, smart people who are not acting on their kindness. They're definitely not acting on strength, and they're withdrawing from the world. I'm talking about people who are overly engaging the world, validating every article that comes by. And it's like, oh, can you believe people? This is the worst ever. These are a form of extremes. And extremes are a form of numbing. What are they numbing? Goodness, intelligence, rightness, good positive impact. Being strong in a world that is caving is a superpower. Being kind in a world that is wielding extremes is a superpower. Being strong in a world that is caving. And I mean a kind strength. I don't mean a January 6th, fight against our own citizens, rub poop on the Capitol sort of strength. I'm not talking about a moral high ground, a superiority. I'm not talking about that kind of strength. I'm talking about a kind strength that shows up in kindness, but firmness. It says, I love you to those closest to them. But I think we need to make some improvements in our lives together. We need the strength to continue while enduring well. To good people, simply continuing in kindness and strength and intelligence will get you mocked. It might even get you walked over. Right now, people living in extremes are doing this because they think it's securing their finances. They think it's securing their futures. It's not. They think it's making a positive impact in the world. It's not. I need you to believe in strength again. A type of strength built on kindness, but a strength nonetheless. I'm not talking about your religion, though it could include that. I'm not talking about anything in particular. I want you to zero in on the trait itself. Quite often, when we talk about strength, they think about what they're trying to be strong about. But strength, kind strength, for the sake of strength. I need you to believe in that again. Why? Because kindness and strength are the platform of the third thing I need you to believe in. I need you to believe in optimism. Oh, people are so sick of this. My lovely wife, we've talked about this so much and I feel so bad, but I don't. I need you to believe in optimism again. Every great endeavor first started by believing that there was a possibility to succeed. Too often, most of you think optimism is a joke because something is not probable. Optimism does not care if it's probable. Optimism cares if it's possible. Now, as you assess your goals, people often think I try to overlook a probable goal. No, probability has its place. I think Elon Musk said he believes he has a less than 10% chance. If you go back, you can watch him on YouTube. He believes he has a less than 10% chance of succeeding at SpaceX. He said, I've calculated my probabilities of success. It's less than 10%. You have to know the probabilities, but probabilities are not the deciding factor for your course in life. They shouldn't be. Optimism looks at not what is probable, but what is possible. In Elon Musk's case, probability was less than 10% when it came to SpaceX, but it was possible. 1% is possible. So now that you've got possible and probable, you don't pursue it just because it's possible. You pursue a goal because it's good and right. And probabilities and possibilities, I only need 1% of possibility if it's good and right. And I need a decent shot at probability. It could be a low probability, though. Most people think something has to have a high probability of success to act on it, and that's what optimism should be. So optimism has become twisted because we think someone's being foolishly optimistic if it's not probable to succeed. Now, back up. We do need things in our life that produce a stable datum, as my friends would describe. And that's a stability, a stable platform. And that can be dealt with probability. You need to probably show up for work and have a high probability of that income coming in. You need a lot of that. But I'm talking about the Hail Marys. I'm talking about the stuff you do on the weekends. I'm talking about the stuff you do with your fitness and health. I'm talking about the dreams you write down on paper. You need to act on probable things. Those are called responsibilities. But you need to believe in optimism again. Because most people are pessimistic. Just ask around. Is the world getting better or worse? When you go around today, ask people, is the world getting better or worse? And they'll tell you. And they might even say positive things. Well, this is going good. This is going good, comma. But anything after the but negates everything before the but. Most people are pessimistic because they think that the basics in life are just too difficult to obtain. It's just too difficult. And they have a general pessimistic outlook. But ironically, if you show up for work, you do have a degree of optimism about that work, ironically enough. But I'm talking about the type of optimism that defies the typical line of pessimistic thinking. For example, I believe that things are difficult. I really do. It's difficult out there to have meaningfulness, to find meaning in the world. It's very difficult. And no, I don't mean a meaningful interpretation of the news. I mean to find a fulfillment and meaningfulness. It's very difficult. But I also believe that things are getting better. That's my but. And yes, everything I say after the but negates everything before. I believe things are getting better, so it doesn't matter that things are difficult. You have to assess it. 10% probability of success. Yeah, things are difficult, comma. But I want to hear the positive but I believe things are getting better. That's the thing I'm going to act on. I believe that my big goals are challenging, and honestly, I have been vexed by my big goals for over a decade. But I also believe, at minimum, my goals, the pursuit is worthy enough. At median, Me pursuing my goals makes an impact in people watching me. And third, at maximum, I can still achieve it. So I believe my goals have been vexing me for over a decade. And what I want people to tell me is Grant fought for an ignited life of explosive significance till the day he died. And he was vexed by it. It was challenging, but fought on he did. I believe that kindness and strength, my mere presence in the world with kindness and strength, and therefore optimism, are a superpower. And I want to give a hat tip here to Chandler Jericho. He was a buddy of mine that we've had a loose acquaintance, and I hope it blooms into a friendship one day. And we've talked, and I've interviewed him for the show. And he said this: in a world of distractedness, presence is a superpower. In a world of extremes, in a world of unkindness, in a world of pessimism, in a world of weaklings lashing out, your presence with kindness and strength is a superpower. In a world of spite, kindness is a superpower. I believe that if you are pursuing health, you're being optimistic. Just health. If you think, Grant, well, I don't want to be too optimistic. Well, if you are showing up to pursue health in a world where Twinkie marketing and advertising is the order of the day, just you going to the gym, showing up, even having a crap workout, is you being optimistic. And I believe in that in you. If you are pursuing a healthy relationship in a world where divorce rates are high, in a world where people are fighting, people are engaging one another in order to fight. So if you are just pursuing a decent relationship, or you are pursuing love, if this partner that you're looking at causes you to love, that's an act of rebellion. That's optimism. If you're showing up at your job with a decent attitude in a world that's quitting left and right, saying this isn't fulfilling me selfishly, and I do believe in a degree of selfish. I believe, if you guys have tracked me at all, I believe in Ayn Randian type of selfishness, but I believe it should produce a type of productivity. I believe healthy selfishness produces positive, productive work in the world. If you're pursuing a dream, a side hustle, a job just to increase your income, you are exhibiting the type of optimism, and I want you to double down on the positivity in it. Because in a world that wants you to quit, that thinks, man, we're just going to live in our van and it's better than I broke the rat race, man. Listen, I know things are difficult out there. But the rat race is a stability to a parent, to a single parent with several kids. I have a friend who is a single parent of 3 beautiful daughters, and he's struggling. And he is grateful for that stability. And yeah, of course we want to live the Instagram life. Of course we want to go back to Iceland. But come on, we're also part of society. No, I'm withdrawing from that. Man, you're as bad as anyone else. You're as bad as anyone else seeking to numb yourself from all of this thing called life. And yes, we should travel. Yes, we should see the world, but not as a strategy and a tactic to withdraw. To live a life of inspiration, to live a life of creative inspiration so that we can come back and be a light to people. Lisa Welsh says, yes, Kits let the vegetable stand sell more than the donut booth. I think she's talking about at schools. The vegetables sell more than the donuts. It's cheaper to get a donut. In a world where it's cheaper to get a donut than it is to get a nice salad, you pursuing healthiness is an act of rebellion. You pursuing good work, whether that's in your job, I applaud you. To show up positive and uplifting in your job, I applaud you, because the world needs positive people to say, listen, no, this isn't my dream, but I'm going to give it everything I've got. That's optimism. That's an act of rebellion. And for those who will sit down and actually check in with their spirituality, we joked about the earth not being light reflective, but the earth isn't reflective enough in your heart. To reflect on where you're at, even for 15 minutes, to meditate, even for 5 minutes. in kindness and in strength and say, you know what? The world can wait. I'm going to pause for a second because I've got to recharge my batteries. I got to recharge my spirit. This thing we call spirit, I'm not getting religious on you. There's this amalgamation of things inside of us that we still don't have good science for. Whether it's infinite intelligence or connectedness or God or Pneuma or Allah, whatever it is, we can all agree it's something spiritual because that's how we think of it. To get in touch with yourself, to pause. And maybe that's the context with which you need to withdraw temporarily in order to get recharged and to come back kind and strong and optimistic. If you're pursuing health, if you're pursuing relationships, if you're pursuing just showing up to your work with a better attitude, if you're showing up spiritually, it's an act of optimistic rebellion. I'm not going to get sucked into your extremes, folks. I'm not going to get sucked into your drama, folks. I'm not blissed out, zenned out. I'm here as an act of rebellion in kindness and strength and in optimism. And here's what these all build to. These things are important. They resonate with the soul. My man, David Zuba. Dave, I always get your name wrong. I apologize. He says, Grant, you're on fire as usual, brother. Broccoli, avocados, and meditation. I love this. Broccoli, avocados, and meditation. Hey, man, it's a recipe for success. If I recall correctly, I met David as a surfer in Dominican Republic, if I recall correctly. I think that's when we encountered each other, if I'm not mistaken, and then we followed up. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's the context with which I met David. And I lived in the Dominican Republic, and there was a turning point for me and Marissa in the Dominican Republic where I felt like I was running from the battle. I had a huge mental health crisis. I had a massive adult depression while we were in the Dominican Republic. And it made it really challenging on Marissa. And I regret that. I wish I could have been stronger. Part of what was going on in me is the fight in me. I felt like I had been sidelined from the battle. Yes, we went there for the mission field. And yes, we did some good on the mission field. But what was brewing in me is I was sensing in my spirit, because I was a connected to my spirituality, I sensed that I had been sidelined in some way. And this is me waging a battle. I'm on fire as usual. And that speaks to my soul because I want you to be on fire. And the only way I know how to light a fire is to be a fire. And I'm trying. So thank you for your comment, David. That makes a huge difference. I really appreciate those words. I need you all to believe in kindness, but strength, a strong kindness. And I need you to believe that they are the foundations of an optimism, of a different type of optimism, not a silly, stupid, I'm ignoring the woes of the world, I'm ignoring the probabilities of success. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about looking that dead in the eye and saying, I don't care. I'm doing it anyway because it's good. I'm doing it anyway because it's right. I'm doing it anyway because the world needs it. And who's going to do it but me? What is it? It could be showing up to work positive. It could be making a change in your career. Marissa brought up some massive changes she wants to make. She has an act of optimistic rebellion, and I hope she sees that I see that. And these are the foundation of what I call goals. Or said another way, dream igniters. We could call them goals, but really they should be something fiery. Dream igniters. That's what I want you to believe in today because the world is dying for lack of it. Listen, that's what I've got for you today. If you want to carry on this conversation, in the comments, I've put a link to our free Discord. Join us in the free Discord. We're talking about stuff like this all the time. It's a small, intimate group right now. I want it to grow to a community of Spark citizens who are trying to be better, who are trying to experience time and financial freedom. I have transparency in our books, transparency in our experiments. I get radically transparent in that thing. And then if you want to level that up, you can always level that up because I also share my crypto trades and some of the investments and complete transparency in our empire building and our finances and our personal lives for the Patreon members. But there's a whole free Discord you could get involved with. Dave, it should be in the comments. David says, where do I go to join? Here, I'm just going to drop this. Thanks for asking, David. Here, I'm going to put it in the comments. Boom. Boom. Again, right now it's a small group. If you want to get the crypto trades, the Patreon link will be in there. Ask me for that. I'll send it to you. But I do want to make sure that we have a segment of people that care. We're talking about business. We're talking about goals. We're talking about fitness. Right now, I've just been sharing my cryptos and stuff like that because that's time freedom. That's financial freedom. But why? Why do we talk about small business? Why do we talk about freedom? So that you go out and ignite lives of explosive significance, so that you have the freedom to ignite lives of explosive significance. Have a great day, David. Good to connect with you. I'll hope to see you on the Discord. We'll talk soon. Take care.